It's a lovely good evening and welcome to Camnet News. To present, my name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Top stories in the news tonight: UPND youths report BOWMAN LUSAMBO and CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI over the murder of OBED KASONGO. People exhibit reluctance to hand over illegal firearms. A 21-year-old scammer of Lusaka's Mtendere sentenced to 2 years imprisonment. In international news, Ghanaians protest new levy on electronic payments. And in sports news, Copper Queens coach confident in the junior players as they encounter BANYANA-BANYANA on Saturday.
Camnet TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. With Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Hello once again, another news in detail. Patients at Chongwe District Hospital Friday were treated to new beddings and other health utensils after a local businessman donated assorted items to the hospital. The patients say the beddings will go a long way in improving the quality of health care they receive at the hospital, as they often have to bring their beddings due to a shortage. And Richard Mubanga, businessman behind the donation, has challenged the private sector to come on board and aid government in the provision of quality health care, which he says is usually strained more so with the COVID-19 pandemic. Apostle Mubanga, who is director of Pamwena Investment Limited, says it will be impossible for Zambia to attain the 2030 goals of ensuring quality health care for all if left in the hands of government alone. More in this report.
Zambia, like other countries around the world, is facing a double burden in the delivery of health care, as the country has to combat the coronavirus pandemic while ensuring that care for other diseases is not compromised. The attainment of 2030 goals for Zambia becoming a prosperous middle-income country hinge on the state of the health sector, as having productive human resource is the key priority to driving the nation to its desired development agenda. With only 8 years till then, the attainment of this goal would require massive effort from the government and cooperating partners if to be attained. The state of most public health facilities is still a far cry from the desired objective, as most of them lack basic items such as adequate blankets for their patients. It is for this reason that a businessman has urged well wishers to complement government efforts. Apostle Richard Mubanga, who is Pamwena Investments Director, was speaking when handing over masks, bed sheets, and duvets to Chongwe District Hospital on Friday, among other items.
This donation is in response vis-a-vis recognition of the new Dawn government commitment and efforts to mitigate the shortage of beddings in most health centers in the country. For we believe that health comes first. I believe the community will also be very happy because we are here to improve the lives of the Zambian people.
Meanwhile, Acting Medical Officer in Charge Dr. Prince Takuhuka says the items will help improve the quality of health care at the hospital.
Here at Chongwe, even including other facilities, there are so many needs which the health care is facing. But you have lessened the burden. So I would love to encourage also other stakeholders to come on board and come and partner with us as Chongwe District Hospital. So on behalf of our patients and also on behalf of the hospital management, we would love to thank you for what you have done today.
In an interview, patients at the hospital say the items will improve their stay at the hospital, as they often have to come with their own beddings due to a shortage.
Takondwela maningi potetera kwa blankets ya patient. So isepobwera tinapeza mu hospital mulibepo blanket oloimozi. So lero talandira ma blankets takondwela maningi bapitirize.
Ziko mopotetera kuvovinikira vodwala pamene tinabwera setinapeza mbe ma blanketi but muri lero tapeza batetera ko tikuti zikomo.
They add that despite various challenges being faced in the health sector, Progress is certain if more stakeholders come on board. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Chongwe District.
Inspector General of Police Lemi Kajoba is disappointed with a low turnout of people surrendering illegal firearms to the police countrywide. Mr. Kajoba says this is despite extending the firearm amnesty period aimed at giving all well-meaning citizens ample time to do so without coercion. The Inspector General says the response from members of the public has been low despite offering motivation by way of money as a token of appreciation to those that would provide the police with information that would lead to the recovery of any illegal owned firearms. The police has meanwhile extended further the amnesty period by 7 days, effective Friday the 11th of February 2022 to Friday the 18th of February 2022.
With all these efforts, we only recovered 28 firearms countrywide, 20 from Southern Province, 5 from Northwestern Province, and 3 from Lusaka Province. Immunity from prosecution was granted to members of the public who could voluntarily surrender illegally held firearms to the firearms registrar at police service headquarters or any nearest police station. We are again extending the amnesty period by 7 days, beginning from today, Friday, the 11th, February 2022, to Friday, 18, 2022. Thereafter, we shall embark on an operation to get rid of community illegally owned firearms. We shall not cast a blind eye on people who were brandishing firearms on social media platforms or in communities. These will be pursued by police until all illegally owned or unlicensed firearms are retrieved.
Residents of Chikankata district of Southern Province have called for the construction of a police post in the district following the closure of Malabo Police Post months ago due to its dilapidated state. In an interview, Area Member of Parliament Ms. Jacqueline Sawao says the closure of the police post means the district has been operating without any formal police structure as it was the only one in the district. Meanwhile, Upper Kalea Councillor Mr. Davis Katoa adds that there is need for the police staff, there is need for more police staff as only 3 were working from the said police post but have now been forced to use a small one-roomed unofficial structure due to the lack of a police post. More in this report.
This is what is left of Malabo Police Post of Chikankata District, which now stands a shell of its former self. A glance at the outside of the building reveals its dilapidated state as the paint has chipped off, while the inside is much worse, being filled with broken down infrastructure. Upon entering the building, one is first greeted by a stench, which not only comes from the unsanitary police cells, but also from the toilets, as the plumbing system in the building is broken down. Due to its unsanitary condition, health authorities advised that the place be vacated due to potential health hazards, leading to its closure months ago. This, however, has concerned residents who say the lack of a formal police structure in the district is posing as a security concern, as the area records many crimes, chief among which is animal theft.
So twalomba nohulumende kuti amutulanganye buli jeji oguno 1 kuli ngombe kuli baba ngombe mbanji 2 kuli madefilers mbanji kuli bagitamirandu isi ensini kuli Rwanda kuli mababa nanywa bokoko bantu balalwana balangwa so kuwo kubatola it takes dilatola mazuba manji kuti bamunyamu noguno kugiradura kuti bakakusiye kumazabuka kumasera so tulalomba transport oguno kujikankata tugisi place nimpati basirikani mabuswala manako mano kutalika kwenda kuzwako kuno kwasika kuna maira kwanga muntu kuzwako kuno kwasika kwa akantu kuzwako kuno kwakusikira kwa hapigo musirikano omwe uli palipengede tuyandavyo aba mwamba pe motoka.
In an interview, Area Member of Parliament Ms. Jacqueline Savao says the police post was the only one in the district.
At the moment, you don't have a police. We've closed this. This thing is stinking, it's dirty. There are a lot of things happening in this building, and human beings can't be in this place. So as a government, you have to consider as Chikankata people. And we've had challenges as people of Chikankata because of people who steal animals from our community. We don't have where to take these people. because this place has been closed.
In adding his voice, Upper Kalea Councillor Mr. Davis Katoa says police from the police post are now operating from a one-roomed and official structure, which is not ideal.
Now they have shifted to here. Now there are problems. We only have 3 staff. We need more staff here. And these staff have no accommodation. If the government can consider to construct staff houses for these officers so that we can have a recognizable police station at Malabo here.
National statistics indicate that an estimated population of 128,000 people occupy Kankata district, necessitating the need for urgent action from the relevant authorities to safeguard lives and property. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News.
The United Party for National Development Youths have reported BOWMAN, LUSAMBO and CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI over the murder of the late OBED KASONGO. UPND LUSAKA District Information and Publicity Secretary Matomola Likwanya says they have decided to break the silence and demand justice over the killing of OBED KASONGO in Ron constituency during a by-election. Mr. Likwanya says they have reported the matter to the Inspector General of Police, anticipating that investigations and the possible arrest of suspects in this matter will be instituted. He says Dr. Chimba KAMBWILI is on record having said that it was BOWMAN LUSAMBO that hacked and killed OBED KASONGO. More in this report.
Just as the famous saying in one of the local languages in Zambia, Mulandu siu ola, meaning a crime can never get rotten, is the case in the story of OBED KASONGO, who was killed in political violence in the year 2019 during the tenure of the Patriotic Front. He was killed during the campaign period of the Lone constituency by-election, which the National Democratic Congress NDC candidate, then Joseph Chishala, scooped. This was during the time when Mr. KAMBWILI was serving as NDC leader and in an alliance with the United Party for National Development UPND and other political parties. Mr. KAMBWILI, through his Facebook page and other platforms, did allege that expelled Kabushi constituency lawmaker BOWMAN LUSAMBO killed OBED KASONGO. His concern at the time was that the police refused to make any arrests.
He was beaten and robbed of 15,000 plus 3 phones. The police in Wansha have opened dockets, but we are reliably informed that they've been told not to go ahead with the arrest of BOWMAN LUSAMBO and others. But today we have lost a life because of police inefficiency. I want to call upon the police and the authorities to immediately arrest and charge BOWMAN LUSAMBO and this group for premeditated death. The man was hacked and he had been stitched. He had about 8 stitches on the wound, but since then he had never been well until his passing this morning.
Now that Mr. KAMBWILI has gone back to the PF and associates with BOWMAN LUSAMBO, do his views on the matter remain unchanged? For now we cannot tell, but what we know is that some United Party for National Development Youths, led by Party LUSAKA District Information Publicity Secretary Matomola Likwanya, have reported Mr. BOWMAN LUSAMBO and CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI over the murder of late OBED KASONGO.
On a record that Dr. CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI did issue a statement and addressed the nation in a video where he said that the one who had hacked and killed OBED KASONGO was BOWMAN LUSAMBO. This matter is a matter of public interest. As concerned citizens, we demand answers on the killing of the late NDC leader. We have written to the Inspector General of Police and the police have acknowledged our report to the police. We are reporting this is a murder case. We wish to call upon the Inspector General of Police and the police to institute investigations on this matter and institute a possible arrest on the perpetrators of the killing of Mr. OBED KASONGO.
It says the police must bring the matter to a logical conclusion for justice to be served.
That time never gave them an audience.
The video is there.
The video is there. The police never acted when Dr. CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI went and reported this matter to the police. So now that we have a change of government, we want to revisit this case. We have been reporting various matters, and as I'm speaking to you right now, cases have been opened in the killing of Lawrence Banda, another youth who was killed, shot in the by-election in Sesheke. So we have got trust and confidence in the police that they are going to investigate this matter to the end, and we are not going to rest until justice is granted.
Others say justice delayed is justice denied.
So I want to believe that justice delayed is justice denied, whichever way it falls, but that is a concept that falls behind that. So it would be nice for cases to be concluded, and like arresting innocent people, acquitting the actual perpetrators. So it's important to conclude matters in a way that they're supposed to be concluded.
Patrick Soko, Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
United Party for National Development UPND National Youth Chairperson Gilbert Liswaniso has challenged political parties to create programs aimed at sensitizing their youths on how they can contribute positively to the country's economy by creating cooperatives. In an interview, Mr. Liswaniso states that while there has been the creation of the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises, many youths, especially those in political parties, are not proactive in forming cooperatives as they have become accustomed to handouts. He states that it is only when youths engage in productive activities that vices such as cadreism will begin to be phased out. More in this report.
It's a process also. From handouts to real empowerment. It's not an easy thing because mostly of young people, not young people, but women, generally even the Zambian people itself, were depending on handouts. So it's a process. By ensuring that we sustain them, rehabilitate them in the mind that the foundation we are making today is for tomorrow, not for today, it's for tomorrow. Because we are getting older at the end of the day. Are you going to depend on handouts? The answer is no. So the creation of this cooperative and limited companies, it becomes an activity to the youths, not only UPND, but the all youths across the country. I'm not the only national chairman for UPND, but the all youths in Zambia, they're under me. So I need to ensure that now we participate so that that empowerment, for instance in Kawata, I would want to see all the youths in Kawata now, right behind the member of parliament. That's the way they need now to make all those cooperative and to ensure that now they trouble the member of parliament, the councillors, to ensure that that CDF money, the people of Kawata benefit through activities in terms of infrastructure within Kawata constituency. That's what we want to see now. And that's what we need to see in our country. We need to participate at a grassroots level, all of us. That's why President Hakainde deliberately cut the money, 25.7. Let's take it back to the people at the community level.
Movement for Democratic Change MDC Vice President in charge of politics Leonard Hikaumba has charged that with or without the social contract with the youths, government has the obligation to create decent jobs for citizens as the population demands for jobs grows. Speaking at a press briefing, Mr. Hikaumba says the UPND administration has been emphatic on the issue of job creation where social dialogue will be promoted. He says the country should be looking at the sectors that have already been identified and can respond effectively to the issues of job creation, such as the mining sector. Meanwhile, the MDC, a UPND alliance partner, has advised the new administration to utilize useful research work to find that which is valid to be married with a manifesto in order to actualize job creation for the people. Mr. Hikaumba has cited the 2017 World Bank Comprehensive Study, Vision 2030, and the National Strategy on Industrialization and Job Creation as having clearly articulated Zambia's job creation plans but lacked implementation.
Create jobs. As the population grows, there is need to ensure that opportunities are created to cater for the ever-increasing population. So it is good if there is a social contract, but even without it, it still remains an obligation of government. Sectors have already been identified. We have the mining sector, but there are certain things that are happening now which need to be corrected, and especially for the newly discovered areas that have got minerals of high value. We've heard of places where gold mining is taking place and it's not being regulated. We are calling upon government to ensure that all such places that are coming into operation now, illegalities should be done away with. We are also asking that in order to actualize these things, it's not the job of government alone. Rather, all the stakeholders should play a part. And in most labor issues, there is a tripartite approach where the government gets involved, where the employers, through their organizations, they get involved, and also the workers and other actors like the International Labour Organization and other institutions that are allied to labor issues.
Ministry of Youth, Sports and Art Permanent Secretary Kangwa Chileshe says government is committed to private-public partnerships aimed at uplifting the livelihood of the people in the country. He says digital technology can be used to generate income for individual youths once used correctly. Mr. Chileshe was speaking during the launch of the Digital Youth Month, a hybrid experience aimed at providing opportunities for people aged 6 to 35 years old. And Digital Spark Zambia Chief Executive Officer Zanyiwe Asare says Digital Youth Month is a platform crafted to celebrate young people all over Africa by giving them a physical and virtual space to learn new skills.
Or sphere of life, ICTs must be used to the maximum. And so we are grateful for this invitation, and we're here to support. We will be having a Youth Week and celebrating Youth Day, under the New Dawn government. And so I think a lot of young people are excited, and we definitely want to make sure that we're communicating to them via the language that they understand the most. I understand that for young people, cell phones are more popular than television. When I was growing up, it was radio and then TV. Today it's the phone, and the phone has everything on it. Radio, TV, internet, everything. So we need to digitalize as a country, we need to digitalize as a nation.
Our focus really is using ICTs for development and ICTs for progression. So that would be in a company, that would be for a civil society organization, public sector, private sector. But in this particular instance, when we're looking at Digital Youth Month, our focus is youth. And the real question here is, what are we doing to create the future that we want today? And that's the main theme of what we're here for, the future that we want today. So Digital Youth Month is a program that we had put together last year to really bridge that gap between information dissemination for youth, but also ensuring that young people have the voice, have the platform, and also have the audience to hear them at a time where we were socially restricted.
The Ministry of Youth is there, the Ministry of Technology is there, the platforms have actually been increased under the current government, and there's so great potential for the youths to do so many great things in this particular nation. To just look on the government and say, we have to wait on the government to do everything for us. I think we're not helping ourselves. We have to bring out ideas, we have to bring out proposals, and probably take them to the government, for the government to see whether they can support us in one way or the other.
A 21-year-old scammer of Lusaka's Mtendere compound has been sentenced to 2 years imprisonment for impersonating and falsely obtaining money from people online on pretext that he sells various products online. This was in a case in which Paul Kawewe was charged with obtaining money by false pretense, contrary to Section 309, and personation, contrary to Section 378 of the laws of Zambia. When the convict appeared before the Lusaka Magistrate Court Friday, he admitted to falsely presenting himself as a businessman and owner of the company, namely Chanda Brian, and obtaining a 3,500 kwacha from Mwaba Musama on account that he was going to sell an iPhone to her. More in this report.
Now, I started last year.
After duping people of their money online in order to have a lavish life, 21-year-old Paul Kawewe will have to spend 2 years of his life in a correctional facility, reflecting on his action following a 2-year jail sentence that has been slapped on him by the Lusaka's magistrate court. Kawewe, a scammer of Lusaka's Mtendere compound, admitted before court Friday morning of obtaining money by false pretenses, contrary to Section 309, and personating, contrary to Section 378 of the Penal Code, Chapter 87 of the Laws of Zambia. In July 2021, he falsely presented himself as a businessman and owner of the company, namely Chanda Brand, an online business operating on Facebook, selling shoes and clothes, when in fact not. Facts before court indicate that on the 28th of November 2021, the complainant in this matter came across an advert on Instagram which advertised iPhones for sale. She liked it and got in touch with the convict, who said he was selling at 3,500 kwacha. She was then instructed to send the money via an Airtel number, and upon him giving her a confirmation of having received it, without any hesitation and second thoughts, he blocked her. In his mitigation this morning, he pleaded with the court for lenience, explaining that he is the only child of his parents and takes care of them. However, the court passed a sentence of 2 years imprisonment in both counts, which will run concurrently on account that there is an increase in the number of people being swindled online. According to the police statement, they indicated that they found him in possession of 25 SIM cards. The convict, who was well known on his Facebook page as boss of the Big Boys Club, was nabbed for multiple cyber-related financial crimes for impersonating people on various social media platforms through advertising fake products online. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Konkola Copper Mines PLC has sued Copperbelt Energy Corporation CEC in the Lusaka High Court, seeking a declaration that a consent order executed last year in September between it and CEC, where CEC was granted leave to commence arbitral proceedings against it, be set aside. KCM has told the Lusaka High Court that despite a consent order being executed, CEC has commenced a different case against it before another court, claiming that KCM owes it a sum of $139,798,529 plus interest for the supply of power for the period May 2019 up to May 2020. KCM has further submitted that CEC has proceeded to issue out a notice of arbitration against it, claiming that the same relief is the same reliefs in another court. More in the report.
It seems the legal battle between Konkola Copper Mines and Copperbelt Energy Corporation is not ending anytime soon, as KCM has rushed back to the Lusaka High Court requesting that a consent order that was executed in another case between it and CEC last year be set aside. According to a statement of claim filed before court, KCM submit that despite both parties making an agreement to extend power supply agreement, CEC on the 1st of June 2020 issued a notice to the public that it would restrict and switch off supply of power to KCM, and true to the notice, CEC did effect restriction of the power. This action took by CEC led KCM and ZESCO sue it in court, arguing that the action contravened the law. KCM states that CEC then filed a counterclaim against them, and the gist of the said counterclaim was that KCM was indebted to CEC in the amount of $144 million United States dollars for the supply of power for the period of May 2019 to May 2020. But this said lawsuit was discontinued and only substituting the counterclaim by CEC. KCM further submits that it entered a consent order with the Energy Corporation in September 2021, whereby it was granted leave to commence arbitral proceedings against it. However, to its surprise, CEC has proceeded to issue out a notice of arbitration against it under a different case and court, claiming the same reliefs being that KCM owes it a sum of more than 139 million United States dollars plus interest for the supply of power for the period of May 2019 to May 2020. KCM has since told the Lusaka High Court that it is improper for the Copperbelt Energy Corporation to institute arbitrary proceedings over the same claims, as it was under the impression that it would have staged one case. Hence praised that a consent order that was given by the court be set aside. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Strong winds have left a trail of destruction at Minga Secondary School in Petauke district of Eastern Province. A check by Zanis found that the whole 1x3 teachers' house block had its roof blown off following the strong wind, leaving families stranded while some properties were destroyed. The wind, which started around 16 hours on Wednesday this week, lasted for about 5 minutes.
This is what has remained of a house block occupied by some teachers at Minga Secondary School in Petauke district, as occupants remained homeless following a strong storm experienced here on Wednesday. The block had its roof blown, leaving the families without shelter. The affected families are now in dire need of shelter as they are squatting in classroom blocks.
Yesterday, I had gone out to check on something at the market with the vehicle around 1740. Then while I was there, I was just called by my neighbor to say, something has happened in your house. We just heard a sound. So I had to rush back. Coming home, I discovered that there was a big tree which was behind my house had fallen on top of my house, and a lot of goods were destroyed.
Initially, we thought it was going to be a light storm, but all of a sudden we had heavy winds and some heavy rains. So whilst we were looking at the rains through the windows, we were shocked to notice that one of the trees was actually picked up by the heavy winds and thrown onto the structure that we live in. So the house was damaged. We lost some household goods.
Petauke District Commissioner has checked the extent of the damage and described the situation as a disaster, as she assured the affected families of government's assistance.
Those heavy winds that caused this accident. As government, it has touched us because these 3 flats accommodated 3 teachers. Now that those teachers have been moved to houses that were supposed to accommodate teachers that were transferred to Minga, we are now stuck as a district, because meaning that these teachers that were transferred to this school will be unable to come because their accommodation has been given to the teachers that were affected. So as government, we really need to put a lot of effort that we repair these 3 flats so that the school runs in the normal way that it was supposed to run.
Petauke District Education Board Secretary is saddened with the development.
We are looking forward to the government to come in, especially the DMMU. But besides that, even any other well-wisher who would come to our aid in the rehabilitation or major construction of 2 or 3 houses for these teachers, because we know without these houses, our pupils will be badly affected, because the effect on the teacher, there will be a spill over to the children who will not be learning effectively.
The strong winds did not only affect the teachers who do not have accommodation, but also learners who occupy the classroom blocks, where the affected families are squatting. For Zanis, I'm Hilda Msonda in Petauke.
Thank you for watching Camnet TV. We take our first commercial break. We'll be back with more news after this break.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
We welcome you to the wonderful world of Savenda Electronics.
At Savenda Electronics, we pride ourselves in manufacturing high-quality electricity and water meters.
Boasting of the first of its kind state-of-the-art manufacturing plant in Zambia, Savenda Electronics manufactures customized smart electricity and water meters of international standards for both the local and international water and electricity utility companies. Our highly computerized factory, run by qualified staff, makes, calibrates, and electronically tests the smart meters to ensure only those meeting customer specifications are delivered to the market. Some of the main features which come with our meters includes notifications about low units, tempering, low battery, and many more customized features. Savenda Electronics provides on and off-site after-sales service and has favorable contract terms for water and electricity utility companies. Savenda Electronics, the real deal.
Do you have an extra car? Then make yourself extra money. We would like to put that car, yes, that car parked there, to good use to make you extra money on the side just through its service while keeping it safe and secure. Call 0765 02 3883 to register your vehicle with us today. Delpo Services. Service beyond satisfaction.
Camnet TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. With Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. We continue with the news. While welcoming the earlier move by the Energy Regulation Board to reduce fuel pump prices, some stakeholders have questioned why the key players in the transport sector are hesitant in considering reducing the fares, which is the expectation by public transport users. In an interview, the Commuter magazine team leader, Liswaniso Mwanalushi, has noted with shock that stakeholders are relaxed in discussing the reduction of transport fares following the reduction of fuel pump prices. Meanwhile, an economist, Yusuf Dodia, has called on government to revisit the pricing cycle, which now entails that the local price of fuel is more responsive to the market fundamentals. Last month, the Energy Regulation Board, ERB, announced a reduction in the pump prices of fuel by at least 1 kwacha. More in this report.
Earlier this month, the Energy Regulation Board, ERB, announced the reduction in the pump prices of fuel petroleum products by 1 kwacha.32 per litre for petrol and 1 kwacha.22 per litre for diesel. Ideally, Zambians expected reduction in prices of commodities, especially transport fares. To the contrary, the buses and taxi fares reduction did not take place till now. The commuters have since questioned the relaxed approach by key stakeholders to reducing, wondering when this will take place. In an interview, the Commuter magazine team leader, Liswaniso Mwanalushi, wonders.
Fuel prices have been increased by the government through the Energy Regulation Board. We expect a similar meeting, a gathering of stakeholders to be convened when the ERB reduces the prices of fuel. Be it a 1 kwacha or a 15, with the fact that the price has gone down, there should be a trickle down effect cutting across all the sectors.
It further challenges other stakeholders in the transport sector to consider commuters before they make any decision that have a direct impact on them.
Whenever the fuel price goes up or down, those stakeholder meetings are held, and the concerned stakeholders, including representatives of commuters, attend those meetings. It should not leave any stakeholder not in. How do you speak on behalf of somebody who is not in the meeting? It's not We are talking against inclusion if we will continue sidelining other stakeholders in such things.
What is causing the hesitance in reduction of fares and commodities? To answer the question, an economist, Yusuf Dodia, explains factors in play implicating the prices.
Fortunately, the way business works is that increases tend to have an immediate impact on prices when you have an increase in fuel prices, increase in electricity tariffs, and so forth. But when the other way happens, the problem you have is that the business house is unsure for how long this reduction will be in place, because reductions tend to be followed by increases, whereas increases are followed by further increases as opposed to reductions. So what you have is that a lot of businesses will be waiting and wondering, let's wait and see if these fuel price reductions are going to remain stable for some time.
It is because of that Mr. Dodia has urged government to revisit monthly pricing cycle.
It's a wait and see arrangement, and businesses have to protect their profitability, and that's why it's so important that fuel prices need to be stable for at least 4 to 6 months for businesses to plan against stable fuel prices. If the fuel prices are volatile and each month they keep changing, then we are likely to see a situation where prices will be changing almost every month. And I think this is something government has to consider when they came up with this formula to do fuel price assessments every month. I don't think it will be good for the economy. It will introduce instability, and instability always results in high pricing to the consumer.
Alex Shimba, Camnet News in Lusaka.
The Civil Society Scaling Up Nutrition Alliance country coordinator Matthew Zimhuru says COVID-19 has affected over 65% of people in Zambia who suffer from diet-related non-communicable diseases such as diabetes. In an interview with Camnet News, Mr. Mhuru says COVID-19 has made such patients vulnerable and has exposed the country's nutrition status. He adds that malnutrition has also affected the education sector negatively. More in this report.
Non-communicable diseases are health conditions that cannot be transmitted from one patient to another and usually manifest a prolonged, persistence, and slow pathology. NCDs are responsible for over 70% of all deaths, with nearly 80% of these deaths occurring in low and middle income countries. COVID-19 has affected the human and financial resources allocated to providing NCD health services in different ways. The Civil Society Scaling Up Nutrition Alliance country coordinator Matthew Muhulu says COVID-19 has affected over 65% of people in Zambia who suffer from NDCs.
65% of people that were losing their lives due to COVID had diet-related non-communicable diseases. So these are people that would have hypertension, they would have, they will have high blood sugar, and all of those other diet-related non-communicable diseases. So you become very vulnerable if you have diet-related non-communicable diseases to illnesses or pandemics such as COVID.
He adds that COVID-19 has made such patients vulnerable and has exposed the country's nutrition status.
All of that is adding quite a lot of pressure, and it just exposes the country's nutrition status to show that, all the consequences of, the different forms of malnutrition, the people that are going through such situations are likely, to face the harsh, impact of, that those conditions would bring. So we cannot allow our country to continue, going through the same situations. And also just looking at our education sector, you would realize that places that have severe cases of malnutrition, look at just the education situation in those countries, you realize that there is a lot that has to be done.
NCDs constitutes approximately 80% of all years lived with disability globally. Blessings Chakwila, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Alliance for Accountability Advocacy Zambia has charged that most Zambian citizens do not take interest to read and understand the contents of most legislation in the country. AAZZ Programs Officer Mark Ngoma says it is difficult to hold government and lawmakers accountable when citizens do not understand what exactly their role in society is. Mr. Ngoma says it will be very disappointing to see the part of the 25.7 million Kwacha constituency development funds going back into the government coffers simply because the constituencies failed to utilize the resources, as was the case in the past. He has since advised citizens to take time and read the guidelines on the establishment, management and operation of the ward development committees and the utilization of the constituency development funds. More in this report.
Do you know any Bible verse by heart? And majority of us will proudly say yes. But if you ask a Zambian today, how many lines from the Constitution do you know? We do not take interest in reading this.
The reading culture among many Zambian citizens has remained a source of great concern. Many pieces of legislation have been written which directly affect the people, yet few have taken interest to read the content of the legislations, including the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. Alliance for Accountability Advocacy Zambia Programs Officer Mark Ngoma has charged that there is need for citizens to develop the culture of reading and understanding whatever document is made available by the government, as this will help hold leaders accountable.
So we need to understand the roles and duties of our local duty bearers. Why? Because once we understand their roles, then we'll be able to hold them to account for something they are mandated to do. It's difficult to hold someone to account for something they're not even mandated to do in the first place. So we need to know the roles of our councillors, of our representatives. And where do we find these roles? We find them in the Local Government Act, in the Ward Development Committee guidelines as well.
While the Ministry of Local Government has released the Constituency Development Guidelines, which highlights how the 25.7 million Kwacha CDF should be utilized, many citizens have not yet familiarized themselves with the content of the Constituency Development Guidelines. Mr. Ngoma has since challenged citizens to go through the document, as this is the only way they can take part in the decentralization process.
For instance, the utilization of CDF, that guide the disbursement, that guide the allocation of Constituency Development Fund. And some of these legal frameworks are very important, because once you understand the legal frameworks, you will now be in a position where no one can come and take away from you what is duly rightly yours, basically.
In the past, some constituencies failed to fully utilize the 1.6 million Kwacha CDF allocation despite the many challenges faced in their constituencies, while no one held them accountable for failing to deliver development to the people. Decentralization therefore requires that all citizens take part in the development of the country, and this can only be achieved if all citizens understand the law that guide them. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
COMESA Federation of Women in Business has called for the value addition as a way of maximizing the available market potential. In an exclusive interview with Camnet News, COMESA Federation of Women Board Chairperson Maureen Sumbwe has noted that the agriculture sector has potential if players can be provided with microfinance schemes to jumpstart their businesses, especially the women. Ms. Sumbwe has cited the cassava production as one of the most feasible avenues with awaiting opportunities at both regional and international level. More in the following report.
Investment on value addition on products, especially agricultural produce, can give Zambian farmers and entrepreneurs vast opportunities for market access on both local and international market. COMESA Federation of Women in Business Board Chairperson Maureen Sumbwe notes that with massive investment in product standardization, most countries, including Zambia in the region, would compete equally on the international market.
We have been so used to exporting raw materials as opposed to value-added products. And so it is one of our serious agenda items as the COMESA Federation of National Associations of Women in Business to push the agenda of adding value to products. This is not just because it's going to help us to get products out there in the region and outside the region, but also it is going to make more money for women entrepreneurs.
Ms. Sumbwe adds, much is to be done to empower women with equipment for businesses for them to contribute in the growth of national economy.
Promoting the cassava value chain, for example. We have a number of countries that are producing cassava and we are now pushing for industrialization. where the women are being assisted with equipment to process cassava into various products that are required in the market, in industry, and so on.
She further noted
You're watching Camnet TV News. We take another break. We'll be back with international and sports news.
Team, the trajectory of the business looks very positive, and it looks like we'll be able to launch the... She has so much data.
Mom?
Yes, baby?
It says here, global warming and climate change is caused by the pollution from careless activities of human beings.
Wow!
Son, do you know I can turn my phone into a TV remote?
How's that possible?
It's so easy. Check this out.
Be smart, be fast with mega data from Zamtel. Get your 15 GB mobile data for only 100 kwacha, 30 GB mobile data for only 200 kwacha, and your 70 GB LTE data bundle with free Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Visit our Facebook page, website, or service centers countrywide for more information. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
You know I can take her a bit.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, man. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
Do you have an extra car? Then make yourself extra money. We would like to put that car, yes, that car parked there, to good use to make you extra money on the side just through its service while keeping it safe and secure. Call 0765 02 3883 to register your vehicle with us today. Delpo Services. Service beyond satisfaction.
Camnet TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. With Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Hello, we continue with the news, and now in international news, a government proposal in Ghana to tax electronic payments has provoked a street protest in the capital. Demonstrators complained that the so-called e-levy will hurt low-income earners already facing high food and fuel prices. For more in international news, here's a roundup.
Protesters marched through Ghana's capital, Accra. They're angry about a government plan to introduce a tax known as an e-levy. A charge of nearly 2% will be added to all electronic transactions of more than $16. Recent polls show up to 85% of the country's population opposes the tax. Protesters say people on low incomes will suffer the most.
To create a situation where money, which is either kept in my pocket physically or kept in my electronic wallet, you start to take the electronic money, any transaction I make is simply immoral, is criminal.
The government says the money raised from the e-levy will pay for development projects. Tax revenues have fallen sharply in Ghana in recent years, from 32% of GDP in 2009 to 15% in 2020. Part of the reason is nearly 3/4 of the country's 10 million workers are employed informally, and many don't pay income tax. Some economists say the e-levy is not a bad idea, but must be implemented fairly. Others say the timing is wrong.
Prices are escalating day in and day out. Fuel prices are going up. Even last week, one day fuel prices were increased twice. Now we are paying taxes for everything. COVID came in, and instead of bringing alleviation to the people, we were imposed to pay COVID taxes.
Some protesters say they cannot afford to live and are calling on the government to go.
All my grandchildren are homeschooling. I cannot feed them. We cannot access water or food. I don't have anything to survive on, so I'm asking the government to hand over power to someone else. We're really suffering.
Ghana has one of the fastest growing mobile money markets in Africa. Protesters want the government to think again about the impact of the e-levy on the poorest in the country.
Guinea-Bissau's President Umaru Sissoco Embalo has accused the former head of the National Navy and 2 other men arrested in the past by the U.S. Anti-Drug Agency of being behind what he described as the abortive February 1 coup attempt. Embalo on Thursday told reporters the names of former Rear Admiral Jose Americo Bubu Nat Chuto, head of the Navy during the first decade of the 2000s, and Chame Yala, also a former officer, alongside Papis Jeme. All were arrested after the event of February 1. During the coup attempt, the government palace, which is the seat of ministries, was attacked by armed men while the president and members of the government were holding a Council of Ministers meeting. The president emerged unharmed after hours of gunfire that left 11 people dead, according to the government. Guinea-Bissau, a country of about 2 million people in West Africa, is considered a hub for cocaine trafficking from Latin America.
Hours after his controversial appointment Thursday, Fathi Bashaga arrived in Tripoli early Friday, where hundreds of supporters greeted him. The upcoming government will be for everyone and will include everyone. We shall reach out to everyone with no exception. There is no place for hatred, revenge or unfairness. We will reach out to everyone. I would like to thank the unity government, headed by Abdul Hamid Beiba, who took on the responsibilities during a difficult phase. This is a democracy that ensures a peaceful transfer of power. Abdul Hamid Beiba vowed he wasn't stepping down. Bashaga, who was named Prime Minister by the parliament based in eastern Libya, has demanded a peaceful transfer of power. The parliament accused Beiba of incompetence after a presidential election scheduled for last December flopped. The UN has said the matter is up to Libyans to decide.
The short answer is yes. Ultimately, the Libyan leaders are going to have to come together to agree or re-agree on a path forward.
The presidential and parliamentary polls in Libya were planned for the 24th of December last year, but were never held after disagreements on election rules and candidates between Tobruk and Tripoli. Beiba postponed the polls, and the parliament blames him for the failure.
It's now time for sports news. In sports news, Copper Queens coach Bruce Mwape is confident that the junior players selected to participate in the international friendly game against BANYANA-BANYANA tomorrow will help Zambia carry the day. Mwape says despite the absence of most professional players, the junior players can withstand the pressure that will be coming from their opponents. Mwape described tomorrow's game against South Africa as a fitness game as they prepare to face Namibia next Wednesday. Meanwhile, Sports Fans Association patron Peter Makembo has requested to honor the Republican President Hakainde Hichilema with the supporters' regalia.
Yeah, but the game fitness, because we haven't played any friendly since we started camping, but this will be our first our first game. So we'll try and see whether the game fitness is in the players. If it is not, the few days that are remaining, we'll make sure we polish up. That's the reason why we actually picked on them, because we compared with other players and we saw that these junior players can actually add value to the team. And the other reason why we added them into the team is because some of the professionals will not come in time. Because if you look at the FIFA window, it will close on the 14th, and the teams where they are, they will be able to release them after 14th. So that will make it very difficult for them to travel and do all the COVID tests.
Him to say, Your Excellency, by virtue of you being in that position, as Zambia sports fans, we are not only in football. We are beyond football. There are these other sporting arenas where they are also bringing some major medals in the country. A medal is a medal, despite of what group you are. So we want to honor His Excellency with the regalia that it's an identical, because tomorrow tennis they will need to dress him, golf they will need to dress him, swimming pool they need to dress him. How many dresses is he going to wear?
To end the news, the top stories once again. UPND youths report BOWMAN LUSAMBO and CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI over the murder of OBED KASONGO. Illegal people exhibit reluctance to hand over illegal firearms. A 21-year-old scammer of LUSAKA sentenced to 2 years imprisonment. And in international news, Ghanaians protest new levy on electronic payments. And in sports news, Copper Queens coach confident in the junior players as they encounter BANYANA-BANYANA on Saturday. We now have the Camnet verse for the day coming from Isaiah 25 verse 1 to 2. Yahweh, you are my God, I will exalt you. I will praise your name, for you have accomplished wonders, plans formed long ago with perfect faithfulness. For you have turned the city into a pile of rocks, a fortified city into ruins. The fortress of barbarians is no longer a city, it will never be rebuilt. Thank you for watching. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Bye-bye.